Krishna, 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 Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, and to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto the author, Srila Vyasadeva. And today we are continuing to read from the third canto entitled The Status Quo. And we are in fourth chapter entitled Vidura Approaches Maitreya. And we will read from text 11. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Veda. Aham. Anta. Manasi. Ipsitam. Te. Dadami. Yat. Tat. Duranvapam. Aniyai. Satre. Pura. Vishvashrijam. Vasunam. Matsidi Kamena. Vaso. Tvaya. Ista. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Vedaham Manas Sipsita. Vedaham Manas Sipsitam Te. Tadami Yata Duravapamanye. Satre Pura Vishva Shrijam Vasunam. Matsidi Kamena Vaso Tvayasta. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Vedaham Manasip Shitam Te. Tatta Dadamiyata Durava Pamanye
Dadamiyata Duravapamanyai
Satre Pura Vishva Shrijam Vasunam
Satre Pura Vishvashritam Vasunam
Matsidika Mena Vaso Tvayesta
Matsirika Mena Vaso Tvayesta
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Vedahamanta Manayiship Shitam Te
Vedahamanta Manasip Siddham Te
Dadamiyata Durava Pamanye
Dadamiyata Duravapamanyai
Satre Pura Vishva Shijam Vasunam
Satre Pura Vishvashrijam Vasunam
Matsidika Mena Vaso Tvayesta
Matsirika Mena Vaso Tvayesta
Sri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Aham Antamanis Pisitam Te
Vedaham Samanisi Psitam Te
Dadamiyata Duravapamanyai
Dadamiyata Durava
Satre Puradishva Srijam Vasuna
Satre Pura Vishva Shijam Vasunam
Matsidi Kamina Vaso Tvayeshta
Matsidika Mena Vaso Tvayesta
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Vedahamanta Manasip Siddham Te
Vedaham Tamanaship Shitam Te
Dadamiyata Duravapamanyai
Dadamiyata Durava Pamanye
Satre Pura Vishvashrijam Vasunam
Satre Pura Vishva Shijam Vasunam
Matsirika Mena Vaso Tvayesta
Matsidika Mena Vaso Tvayesta. Someone online would like to chant? Okay. Word for word with English translation. Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Sri Bhagavan Vacha
Vedahamanta Veda.
Veda
Oh, the personality of God. Can I have some water? I think I'm disturbed. I have a bottle of water on the table, if it's possible. I think I'm distracted by my throat. Thank you.
and it's a plan. Thank you.
My throat reminded me. Okay. The personality of God had said,
Personality of God had said
Veda,
Veda
No.
no, Aham,
Aham
I, Anta,
Anta
within, Manasi, the
Manasi
mind,
Mine.
Ipsitam,
Ipsitam
what you desired,
what you desire
Te,
Te.
your,
Your.
Dadami,
The Dami.
I give you,
I give you.
Yat,
That.
which is,
Which is.
Tat,
That.
that,
That.
Duravapam,
Duravapam.
very difficult to achieve,
very difficult to achieve
and yet
Anye.
by others,
Others,
Satre,
Satre
and the sacrifice,
in the sacrifice
Pura,
Pura
in the day of Yor,
in the days of yore
Vishvashrijam,
Vishvashrijam.
of those who expanded this creation,
of those who expanded this creation
Vasunam,
Vasunam.
of the Vasus,
of the Vasu
Matsidika Mena,
Matsidikam.
with a desire to achieve my association.
to desire to achieve my association.
Vaso,
Vasu,
O Vasu,
Vasu,
Twaya,
Tvaya,
by you, is the
Ishta.
ultimate goal of life.
ultimate goal of life.
Translation. O Vasu, I know from within your mind what you desired in the days of yore, when the Vasus and other demigods responsible for expanding the universal affair performed sacrifices. You particularly desire to achieve my association. This is very difficult to obtain for others, but I award it to you. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Uddhava is one of the eternal associates of the Lord, and a plenary portion of Uddhava was one of the 8 Vasus in the day of yore. The 8 Vasus and the demigods in the upper planetary system were responsible for the management of the universal affairs, performed a sacrifice in the days of yore, desiring to fulfill their respective ultimate goal in life. At that time, an expansion of Uddhava, acting as one of the Vasus, desired to become an associate of the Lord. The Lord knew this because he is present in the heart of every living entity as Paramatma or superconsciousness. In everyone's heart, there is the representation of the superconsciousness, who gives memory to the partial consciousness of every living entity. The living entity of our partial consciousness forgets incidents of his past life, but the superconsciousness reminds him how to act in terms of his past cultivation of knowledge. Bhagavad Gita confirms this fact in various ways. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam stataiva vachamyaham. Bhagavad Gita 4:11. Sarvasya chahamri divitsa nivisto matasmri tirgyanam apohanam cha. Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Everyone is at liberty to desire as he likes, but the desire is fulfilled by the Supreme Lord. Everyone is independent to think or desire, but the fulfillment of one's desires depends on the Supreme Will. The laws is expressed as man proposes and God disposes. In the days of yore, when the demigods and Vasus perform sacrifice, Uddhava, as one of the Vasus, desire to enter into the association of the Lord, which is very difficult for those busy in empiric philosophical speculation or fruitive activities. Such a person has practically no information of the fact about becoming an associate of the Lord. Only the pure devotees can know, but by the mercy of the Lord, that the personal association of the Lord is the highest perfection of life. The Lord assured Uddhava that he would fulfill his desire. It appears that when the Lord informed him by his indication to Uddhava, the great Maitreya finally became aware of the importance of entering into the association of the Lord. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyana Jala Shalakaya Shakshun Militon Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Dadati Swapadamtikam Vandeham Shigu Shiyuta Padakamalam Shigum Vaishnavam Cha Shirupam Sarajatam Sagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Sagana Lavita Shri Vishakam Vitam Chai Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vamshakalpataro Bhyacha Kripa Sindhu Bhyaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvesesha Shunyavadi Bhaskachya Dejatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Koroti Machalam Pangam Lakan Ajikrivi Dirim Yakrita Tamaham Vande Sigu Desatarinam. Hare Krishna. We are reading from the third canto entitled The Status Quo, chapter 4 entitled Vidura Approaches Maitreya. And we are reading from text 11 that read, O Vasu, I know from within your mind what you desired in the days of yore, when the Vasus and other demigods responsible for expanding the universal affairs perform sacrifices. You particularly desire to achieve my association. This is very difficult to obtain for others, but I award it unto you. Very special verse, and the first words of that verse is Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. So in our reading of the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, we should feel thrills. We should feel air standing on ants. We should feel anticipation each time we read those words, because the Lord is about to speak. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, meaning we are about to hear directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I believe by just having that awareness when we read and really receiving the Lord with that anticipation that Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Lord is about to speak, then we already can achieve liberation just from that one, state of consciousness, of really being conscious, Krishna consciousness, being conscious of Krishna, that Krishna is about to speak. And so we remember the scene here. We have Vidura and Uddhava are speaking, and Uddhava is remembering the last bit of pastime of the Lord when he followed the Lord, and the Lord sat down at the bottom of a banyan tree, cross-legged. In fact, there is a picture here. Let's see if I can find it quickly. There's a picture of that in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very beautiful. Yeah, I just need to find it. Here, this is the picture where we see Uddhava. Uddhava is here. Uddhava is here, and then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is speaking in this verse, is sitting against a banyan tree, a small banyan tree. Banyan tree can become really, really huge. And we see him in his forearm form. In fact, we could know exactly the name of that forearm form just by looking at the different symbols in his arm. The clubs and the lotus flower and the chakra and the conch, and here also is Maitreya. So that's the scene, and we can be in that scene of the Lord sitting down peacefully. He's ready to go back to his eternal abode, leave this particular earth. Of course, his pastime in the material realm are eternal, always going on. Right now, the Lord is enacting those pastimes of living somewhere. He's about to leave one planet right now. Every moment of the pastime of the Lord are eternally manifested in the material world. That means right now, somewhere, the Lord is about to live, wherever he is enacting his pastimes. And so Uddhava is reminding, sharing still with Vidura. He's still with Vidura. He's sharing and is sharing what the Lord started to say. And the Lord is so pleased with his devotees. He's so loving to his devotees. Desam Satata Yuktanam Bhajate Pritipurvakam. Dadami, same words that's easier. Dadami. I give you. Dadami Buddhidvoyagatam Yenamam Upayantiti. For one with like surrender, worship me with love. I give the understanding by which he can come to me. So he's telling us that. Sri Bhagavanuvacharya is like, if you really want, if you want to fix your desire and worship me with love, I will give you the intelligence by which you can come to me. So that's what he's telling me, Uddhava here. He said, oh, Vasu, you remind Uddhava that in his expansion as a Vasu in the days of yore, the Vasus are demigods. In fact, I did some research yesterday outside of Prabhupada's books because there's not much in Prabhupada's books about the Vasus. They are in charge of the eight elements. They are in charge of the 5 gross elements, earth, water, fire, ether, and then they're also in charge of the sun and the moon and something else, which right now I don't remember because I just said 7. And so that's the Vasus. And of course, we saw like when Lord Brahma, the first created being, Lord Brahma doesn't have a mommy, he's the first created being coming out of the navel of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. When the first created being was about to perform his service, what did he do first? Tapa, sacrifice, austerities, that's what he heard. So similarly, the demigods and the Vasus, they were performing austerity sacrifice. They were performing sacrifice here. And it's interesting that Srila Prabhupada, in his purport, he said they were performing sacrifice for their respective ultimately goal of life. So that means even on the level of the demigods, and in a verse, he said, you particularly, Krishna said particularly, that means he's singling out one of the Vasus of having a particular desire. And to me, it means that the other one may not have had such a precise desire, desiring the association of the Lord. And so sacrifice are there in our life. We cannot live without sacrificing. We always need to sacrifice. My tendency, for example, is I sacrifice a lot, like a lot. Practically my entire life, I sacrificed a lot for my health. Yeah. So there is always sacrifice, like in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, maybe the 5th chapter too. There is different sacrifice, sacrifices, and the 6th chapter too, the inward air and outside air, sacrifices, the breathing, sacrificing, so much. We always make sacrifice. There is no possibility of obtaining anything without sacrifice. We are sacrificing. So yes, we are sacrificing, like to obtain money, we are going to sacrifice instead of staying in bed in the morning, we are going to get up and work. That's a sacrifice. And in order to have, relationships, and we need to put aside our false ego, or put aside our, whatever we want to do with our time, or things like that, in order to get, so we money, relationship, love, what else do we want? Well, else, I say else, so that's one of them. Like, I know myself, like, I eat only a certain type of things, and I take certain vitamin, which, like cost money. Sacrifice. I sacrifice Lakshmi Devi, the energy I receive, to buy health. And so in so many ways, I sacrifice time to study what's good for my health. So we are making sacrifice. We are not going to live our life without making sacrifice. Like, even to be born, they said to be born, to not do anything. Well, I sacrifice working. I sacrifice comfort. I sacrificed so much. I remember when at one point I was, I lived in London for a little while when I was 16 years old. And it was not the joy of my mom. But anyway, I was living in the squat. I don't know if you guys know what the squat is.
Squatter.
I was a squatter. And I was squatting in a side of London. It's called the Bronxon. Bronxon is a very, very dangerous place. It's like so dangerous. And so there was a disaffected building there, a big disaffected building that was all boarded. And in that building were living bums, like homeless people. Bums. People were like, I remember there was one, he was with his cart, and he had so many things in his cart. But like really my memory, and of course my English was close to zero, so I have no idea how I was connecting with people, and they were all speaking English, so I don't know what I created and what was real at that time. But this man, he was so philosophical, and he will pull out of his carts all kind of treasure. And it was clear that it was a choice. Like it was a choice. He had sacrificed the comfort of materialistic life to live freely, in a sense, to live freely, to have the life he was choosing. So we always make sacrifice. And the Lord in the 5th chapter, at the end of the 6th chapter, he said, Bhoktaram yagyatapasam, sarva loka maheshwaram, suridam sarva bhutanam, Gyanakvat Shantim, rich Shati. It's called Shantim, the peace formula. It's a verse that's a peace formula. And many times Srila Prabhupada said, if we know those 3 things, that's all we need to know. We need to know 3 things. And the first one of those 3 things that we need to know that will cover everything is that Krishna is a beneficiary of our sacrifice. So in the morning, I take a hot shower, and usually I stay on the hot shower a long time because I know at the end of my hot shower, I take a cold shower. So it's like, it's kind of self-defeating in a sense, because instead of having a 5-minute shower, sometimes it goes for 20 minutes because I'm pushing the moment of going under the cold shower. And really, I started that out of sacrifice for my health, because taking cold shower like that is very, very good to increase the immune system. And, my immune system is weak. And so I'm trying to do everything I read about the immune system. So I do that. However, every morning, even so I know I'm not doing it for Krishna so much, I say that verse on the shower. And I really want that this shower is an offering to Krishna, that it's a sacrifice because he's a beneficiary. That we know it or not, it doesn't matter. He's a beneficiary. But if we know it, then we can offer that sacrifice to Krishna. And when we offer our sacrifice to Krishna, of course he's pleased with us. Like anyone, if someone sacrifice their time, sacrifice their money, sacrifice whatever for our sake, naturally we are pleased. We feel loved, we feel accepted, we feel so many things. So Krishna is the same. He's the supreme personality of Godhead. It is a personality. He's a person. So naturally, he will also appreciate what we appreciate other person do to us. So he's a beneficiary of all sacrifices. And when that sacrifice here in the time of Yor, those demigods, they are coming just after Brahma. Like Brahma comes, and then so many entities come out and manifest. And the demigod, the Vasus, there is some demons also that manifesting, everything manifests really at that time, secondary creation. And so Uddhava, it's a very interesting thought, because Uddhava is an eternal associate of the Lord. He eternally resides in Dwarka Puri. And Dwarkapuri is one of the Vaikuntha planets, is one of the very elevated planets. So Dwarkapuri is one of the Vaikuntha planets where Uddhava resides. And Prabhupada says that he's an eternal associate of the Lord still, because as eternal associate of the Lord, those very advanced souls, they can expand themselves. Krishna can expand himself unlimitedly. And we are part and parcel of Krishna, and we have the same capacities as Krishna, but instead of being unlimited, it's limited. But still, we have that ability to expand ourselves. So Uddhava, he expanded himself in the form of one of the demigod Vasus. And during that sacrifice, he fixed his mind on desiring the association of Krishna. And Prabhupada, in the second paragraph here, he said, we have a complete independence of our desire. We have a complete independence of our desire. That's where our independence lies, in our desire. Everything else, we are dependent. We are dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the agency of the demigod, and everything will be manifesting according to the free will of the Lord. It's not like everything we desire is going to manifest because there is that dependence. Maybe the Lord will award it to us. Maybe through our sacrifice to the demigod will award it to us. But of course, they cannot award anything on their own because they don't own anything. Everything is owned by the Lord. So desire, and that's our independence, that only independence. And in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there is that beautiful analogy that Krishna is giving to Arjuna about a banyan tree. And he said there is a banyan tree, and that has his roots upwards and his leaf down. And that's a banyan tree that's reflecting on the river of desire. And on the other side of that river, which is also the Viraj River, then there is a real banyan tree with his root down and his leaf upwards. And by looking at that plate in the Bhagavad Gita, you can take the Bhagavad Gita and go and meditate on it. Then the river is desire. And in a sense, because that's where our full independence lies, that's also where our full control lies. And our full control only lies upon that river of desire. And in that river of desire, we can choose to be on one side of the shore of that river or the other. And it's only according to our own free will. So, and by desiring, Krishna said, Aivi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Durataya Maya Mitam Parentite. This divine energy of mine is energy. Again, it's his energy. So we are not going to win with Krishna's energy. But this divine energy of mine is very, very difficult to overcome. But one who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond it. Very easily we can cross. We can get disentangled. That picture is so scary because the banyan tree, the reflection of the banyan tree with the root upwards and the leaves down. And that reflection of the banyan tree is so entangling, so mind-boggling, so going everywhere. There is roots and there is branches and twigs and leaves, and they're all intertwined with the 6 defects: the greed, the envy, and the anger, and when looking at that picture, I feel such a knot in my stomach, like it looks very helpless and hopeless, because there is no hope. There is no hope to get out of it without the association of a pure devotee. And another aspect of another aspect of a purport here, Prabhupada, man dispose and God, man propose and God dispose. So to know that whatever we receive, that's easy, like maybe we propose, but what we get disposed to, like what we receive, we can know for certain, 100% for certain, that it's a gift of the Lord. Because we have no power to attract anything to us that's not given by the Lord. So by meditating on that, we propose and God dispose. We can look at every aspect of our life and develop gratitude. And that gratitude leads us to appreciate that person, isn't it? If we have gratitude for someone, we start to appreciate that person. And by appreciating that person, we may more and more desire the association of that person too. And in this particular setting, this particular setting, at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada says something very interesting. He says that Krishna is speaking with Uddhava, but really he is speaking to Maitreya. Because he said to Uddhava, you in your past life as a Vasu, you were not a pure devotee, you were not an eternal associate of mine, you were a Vasu, a demigod. You desired me, and particularly, I singled you out of so many doing that sacrifice for desiring to have my association. And as Krishna says that to Uddhava, Krishna is also very, of course, it's Vishnu, it's form. Is very aware that somehow, because of great fortune and because of his unknown devotional service, the great sage Maitreya just happened to be here at that moment. And in that moment, at the very beginning of that conversation between Krishna and Uddhava, Maitreya gets it. Oh, association with Krishna is the greatest fortune one can desire. There is nothing higher than that. And here I am with Krishna. And that's where you realize his great fortune. And that's where he turned into a pure devotee of the Lord. Let's see. I'm not sure what else I want to share right now, so I'm going to look at the verse and purport again. There was other things that I wanted to share. This is very difficult to obtain to others at the verse Daivi Esha Gudamai, and he said Dura Vapam, Dura. So the prefix Dura in Sanskrit meant difficult. So it's very, very difficult to obtain the association of Krishna. And our tool to obtain the association of Krishna, the tool that Krishna gives us is the mind. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, our mind can be the worst enemy and it can be our best friend. So our mind can help us develop the desire. Of course, that desire, it needs to come from more and more desire, coming from love. I desire that because Krishna is Bhagavan, because who else is an object of love? Fallible soldiers, people who are here, with under the tremor of material nature, people who are affected by the material energy under our control, conditioned soul, fallible conditioned soul, are not going to give us the love that we desire to receive. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is capable because he has all opulences in full. Because we may appreciate someone because they're beautiful. And a lot of people, they like beauty. Men seems to be very attracted to women because they are beautiful. Seems to me that it's very much about the form for men. And then maybe a woman will appreciate a man for his wealth. I know some like that. They want security and wealth. Or maybe appreciate for his intelligence. Maybe appreciate him for his renunciation. That's Prabhupada said that there is men in India, they take sannyas because they know they are going to attract women. So renunciation is attractive. It's very attractive. So I say beauty, wealth, intelligence, renunciation. There's two more. Fame. Oh, fame. Isn't it? In our teenage years, how many people we adored because they were famous? Yeah, I adored Frank Zappa in my teenage years. And Neil Young, Frank Zappa, and some French people that you will not know. Weird, very weird. We don't need to go too much there. But yeah, why did I admire them? I would have given anything for spending a moment of time with those people that were so famous. So beauty, fame, renunciation, wealth, strength, that's the one missing. And then strength, and that's so much. How it's called? 4-pack?
6-pack.
Oh, six-pack. How many people want strength? Yesterday I was looking at someone who was doing carrying something so heavy. I thought, wow, I don't understand that. Yeah, for me, it doesn't make any sense, but some people, it makes a lot of sense, or it makes all the sense in the world. So why not being attracted by the one who have all of it in full? And why not being attracted to those who are friends with those, with the one and unique one who have all of it in full? And I have been practicing really allowing myself to be in the presence of pure devotee. Because he said just a moment of association with the pure devotees give us love of God. And we have so much pure devotees around us. If we want to look at them, if we want to take the time to be in association with them, starting with our divine grace, Srila Prabhupada is right here with us every moment of the day, every moment of the night. Is our benefactor, is our well-wisher. He wants to give us Krishna, and a moment of association with Srila Prabhupada is available every moment. And by Lavamatra, say Lavamatra, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi, Lavamatra, Sadhu Sangha. What's the last?
Sarva Siddhi Hoy.
Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Yeah, so just a moment, Lavamatra, Lava is like it's enough. So how are we being responsible to create that moment of association? Because it's have nothing to do with physical presence. A moment of association have nothing to do. There were so many people who had a moment of association with Srila Prabhupada and didn't become pure devotees. So it has nothing to do. It's like a consciousness. It's our consciousness. How are we willing to associate a moment of association with a pure devotee, to receive that moment of association with the pure devotee that's available for us? So we can meditate on that. And Krishna in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it's a verse that for me represents a little boy. in Gitanagari. I think he was 5-year-old Dhruva, and he was constantly chanting that verse. Ya vasayatmika buddhi kehaku nandana pausaka anyantascha buddhayosya sayam
Yeah, sign.
vaya sayinam. So he was saying that all day long. He was just going around. He was so happy because there was no schools there, but they had created a school, and he was so much wanted to go to school. He was 5-year-old. And that's the first verse that they taught him at school. So he was constantly repeating it. And that verse is like, Ekehaku Nandana, is like those who are on this path, of devotional service. Devotional service means we are taking it seriously. We are like Uddhava. We are going to be singled out by Krishna, by our desire that we want to associate with him through devotional service. We want to associate with him by giving him our full being. And by associating by that desire, they are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. They are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. So that's what that verse says. And then in the purport, there is a second part of the Bhaktaramiya Gatapasam, Sarva Loka Maheshwaram, not the third part. So Prabhupada said we need to know 3 things, that Krishna is a beneficiary of all sacrifice. So when we do sacrifice for health, sacrifice for wealth, sacrifice for beauty, some people do a lot of sacrifice for beauty, sacrifice for strength, sacrifice for wealth, for fame, any of the sacrifice, usually it's for us to get those opulence, one of the 6. So every time we do sacrifice to achieve those opulence, we can remember, I'm doing the sacrifice because we all do that to achieve those opulence. Let me redirect that sacrifice as it is and offer it to Krishna. We can offer all our sacrifices to Krishna. Even so, it may be mixed. It's mixed. I'm getting up early in the morning, or I'm taking a shower or whatever to make money or to walk the dog, whatever it is. But still, the sacrifice is there, and we can practice. Practice makes us perfect. We can practice first identifying where are my sacrifices daily. Just be aware, become aware. Where are my sacrifices? And because we may take them for granted, we may go about life and not even be aware that, yes, of course, when I go out, I sacrifice being in a house. When I'm in a house, I sacrifice being out. Every moment we may sacrifice. So identifying them, that's the first step. And then after we identify them, we can identify the reason for the sacrifice. For one of the, I want something. And then after remember, but the beneficiary of all sacrifice is Krishna. And then offering it to Krishna. That small little practice can lead us to more and more understand the import of that knowledge that Krishna is a benefactor of all living entities. Sarva Loka Maheshwaram. Sarva Loka, Sarva all. Loka is planet. Maheshwaram is Maheshwar, like the owner, the controller of all the planets. That's the second thing that Krishna wants us to know. And then Suridam, Sarva Bhutanam, that is Suridam. Suridam is a friend, is a friend of all living entities. That Krishna is our friend. And when we know those 3 things, we know everything. That Krishna is our. And here it said, like Prabhupada speak about super consciousness. Because in super consciousness, we don't need to manifest our desire. It needs to be it can be very private. It's not like Uddhava went around and said, you know what I desire is for this sacrifice, I want to be connected with the Lord. No, he was in the middle of the sacrifice, one of the vassals, one of the 8 vassals with so many demigods, and he was cultivating that desire within himself, trusting that Krishna was receiving his desire. There is a few ways we can do devotional service, and one is through our desire. Desire to please the Lord is already devotional service. Already that desire is pleasing to the Lord. even if we don't manifest the desire, the manifestation of the desire, again, is not dependent on us, but our desire are. So we can desire deeply, I want to please you, Krishna. I want to please you, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada desire to expand your mission. Srila Prabhupada, and cultivating those desires, like cherishing them, being with them like they are precious. I want to really like have them so precious in my heart, and protect them also from the onslaught of other desire. So I'm going to stop here and read again the Sanskrit and English. Bhagavan Uvacha Vedahamanta Manasipsitante Dadamiyata Durava Pamanyai Satre Pura Vishva Shijam Vasunam Matsidika Mena Vasotrayesta. O Vasu, I know from within your mind what you desired in the days of yore, when the Vasus and other demigods responsible for expanding the universal affairs performed sacrifices. You particularly desire to achieve my association. This is very difficult to obtain for others, but I award it unto you. Let's act in a way that Krishna, Srila Prabhupada, will tell us the same thing. Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing Bhagavatam together. And is there any comment, question, anything you'd like to share, realization, challenges?
That's something that's you said that Krishna's pastimes are eternal, so they're always happening. Like somewhere Krishna's performing this pastime right now, and I was thinking of when we're reading, we just look at the picture and we're just reading about this. It's kind of like it's being enacted here now, like with us in our imagination or my mind or whatever. And because of the absolute nature of Krishna's pastimes, he's not different from his pastimes, or if we just by speaking about the pastime, that's not different than the past. So it's like the pastime is being enacted now. So I kind of have that some deeper realization about that so somewhere there is Krishna being actually enacted his pastime, and then every time we read the pastime is being enacted. I know it says like the pure devotees, they're being enacted in their hearts. I think the pastimes are being enacted in their hearts. And so I don't know about my heart, maybe my mind and my brain or something is being enacted a little bit, but I had some realization about that.
Yeah, thank you. It's very beautiful. Thank you for your sharing. Very inspiring, beautiful. That when we speak or when we read, when we hear the pastimes, because the transcendental sound vibration, whatever is transcendental, is not depending it's not depending on anything physical. So as when we hear the pastimes, they are enacted and they are manifested. And in fact, Krishna's pastimes are eternally manifested in Vrindavan Dham, for example, and in Dwarkadam. However, they are different forms, like they can be manifested or unmanifested, but they're enacted. They're always enacted, those pastimes, and they can be manifested or unmanifested. Right now, in our little universe, in our little earth, and they are unmanifested. And I appreciate, on Friday we read Krishna book, and this time around we already went with Krishna book, and we started again. I decided to just keep going with Krishna book, because Prabhupada said, if you read one book, just read Krishna book again and again and again. Because in Krishna book there is all the pastimes, and in Krishna book there is all the philosophy. So the condense of all Prabhupada's teaching is in Krishna book. So on Friday, we have a reading group of Krishna book, And this time around, I decided to particularly focus on feeling the pastime and taking time to be like when there is a scene, like yesterday we were reading about the cowherd boys and how they were imitating the sound of the cuckoo and the peacock, and to not simply let that brush over us, like, okay, we're reading and letting it very superficial, but really allowing ourselves to almost smell the fragrance, like there was also fragrance of flowers and the buzzing of the bamboo bee around Krishna, and the taste of the gulab jamun, or the sweet they were exchanging, and we were reading about Brahma, and Brahma offering all those prayers, and and the mercy of Krishna to give to Brahma, even so Brahma stole his cowherd boys, and he did a pretty big offense if you think about it. He kidnapped Krishna's associates. Like, we can do a lot of offenses, but like that's pretty advanced when it comes to offenses. Kidnapping, kidnapping is like trafficking. Like now it's called trafficking. It used to be called. To allow ourselves, like you say, and then when we allow ourselves in our being to be with those pastimes are manifested. They are manifested in our mind, they are manifested in our hearts. And the pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada, and all the pure devotees that we encounter in a discipline succession, in the book, like we are with Uddhava right now, and Uddhava is remembering all the pastime of the Lord, all the pastime of the Yadus, all the pastime of the Pandavas, and by remembering them and sharing with Vidura, both of them are present with those pastimes. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Anansiya Prabhu.
Yes, thank you for class. I'm really appreciating when you said the Lord is about to speak, that there's like to really pay attention and to really be sincere and wanting that association. And then you went to speak about three things that Prabhupada said, and you said the first was Krishna is the beneficiary of all sacrifices. I don't know what the other two things were. Did I miss that, or did I know you were so?
It's a verse. It's the last verse of the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarva lokama ishwaram suridam sarva bhutanam yagatpat shantim rikshati. And many times Srila Prabhupada quotes, sometimes he doesn't really quote that verse, but he says 3 things we need to know. 3 things we need to know: that Krishna is the beneficiary of all sacrifices, that Krishna is like own all the planetary sarva lokama ishwaram, that is Mahesh, like the owner or the controller of all the planet, and Suridam Sarva Bhutanam, that is a well-wisher, is our friend in the heart. So that's the 3 things.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I like the well-wisher of the heart. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, and that's one of the first verse I learned as a Bhaktin. That's one of the first verse I learned, because so many times, and now I'm seeing even more how many times Prabhupada bring it, even so he may not quote from the Bhagavad Gita or even refer to that verse. He says those 3 things, those 3 things, those 3 things. And so he's a friend of all living entities. Is in our heart. So it, it's like so it is a friend inside our heart. Super consciousness here in a purport, Paramatma is called super consciousness. The super consciousness that's constantly with us. We cannot hide anything from Krishna. We cannot hide anything externally, but we cannot hide anything internally. All our desire, all our activity, all our motivation. There is no way to hide from Krishna.
Yeah, I really appreciate the super consciousness, because I didn't remember it being phrased that way before. So yeah, that's a new realization. Just it's my consciousness and super consciousness are not the same.
No, there is a few places where Srila Prabhupada says super consciousness. And so that's one, and it's not very often that he presents Paramatma as super consciousness. So yes, we are limited consciousness. We are capable of only knowing one field of activities, We know our field of activities, that's all. And then the super consciousness know all field of activities, everywhere, everyone, everyone's desire, everyone's thoughts, everyone's motivation, everyone's sincerity.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Anasuya Prabhu, for your comment. Anything else? Thank you all for being here this morning, hearing and sharing, churning the Srimad Bhagavatam. Kim, you have your hand raised.
All right, Krishna. I just had a few quick thoughts. I'm sorry, I should have said I'm faster. I love that part too, what you said, but the last person said about being grateful for that you're appreciating that it's the talk, you're listening to a conversation from God. And it's funny because back in the 70s, when I first, I think it was the 70s, late 70s, when I first started hearing about Krishna, I think there was a popular book called Conversations with God. Do you remember that book? It was really popular. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is a much better book. And I remember I kept thinking, because I was in advertising, I kept thinking, this is how we have to advertise this book. This is the conversation with God. We need to advertise.
Wow.
Anyway, so
You're such a great marketer. Marketing Bhagavad
at heart.
conversation with God. But that's what it is Krishna and Arjuna having a conversation.
Yeah. So anyway, that was all going through my head, and that was the main thing I wanted to mention. So thank you for class. I appreciate it. It was a lot of points. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, I love that conversation with God. That's what it is. And really, Arjuna, he plays the role of a human being, and he plays the role of a conditioned soul, even though he's not conditioned. He plays that role for our benefit. So it's really, Bhagavad Gita is a conversation with God where we get to hear from God directly as he's speaking, and he's helping us in our battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he's helping us with all the challenges that we are facing. And by reading Bhagavad Gita again and again, we get to be in conversation with God constantly. Dear Govinda,
Krishna, thank you, Mother Melanie. I appreciated all parts of the past, everything you touched on. And my comment is just the very, very last thing you said. You said, may Prabhupada say the same thing to us. You said something like that. So like Krishna saying to Uddhava, but I award my association to you. So the very last thing you said, I was just reflecting on that. And because, there's some ideas going on and misconceptions that, well, to have like the personal association with Krishna, we need something other, something more than what Prabhupada gave us. We need, so it's a misconception, but just to be clear, but we need the Siddha Pranali initiation. This was going on even in the 70s when Prabhupada was there. We need to read about the other pastimes of Krishna, like that. And I not too long ago, I was on a Facebook thing, and someone said, as far as like actually associating with Krishna, there's a very senior devotee said, we're not going to get that from book distribution. No, he actually said it.
that's the only way you can get it.
You're saying the opposite. So I just want to your last statement there. So for Krishna to speak to us like he's speaking to Uddhava, not that we want to think we're qualified or anything like that, but the process is to follow Prabhupada's program, dedicate ourselves to a certain Prabhupada mission, whatever that is today, whatever our service is today. Of course, right now service is this is conversation with God. Sri Krishna, Bhagavan, Sri Krishna, Uddhava, and conversation with God. And maybe, we have different conversations today and responsibilities, serving Prabhupada's mission. And Prabhupada's pleased, and then he personally introduces us to Krishna. He personally introduces us to Krishna, and that's it. It's like Prabhupada is like so pleased. We read his books, we distribute his books. And then Krishna, and it's like that Yasya Prashada, Bhagavat Prashada, Yasya Prashada, Bhagavat Nagati Kutopi. Krishna's pleased, and then he personally reveals ourselves to us. And Krishna's pleased when we please Srila Prabhupada, when Prabhupada's grace, when Prabhupada it's not like introduce or not introduce, but Prabhupada in his own time, and according to his inspiration and how much we're sacrificing for his mission, and he introduces us to Krishna. So I'm saying that just because I even yesterday I was hearing some things that, like, we really need to go beyond what Prabhupada gave us, which is like that's not the process. It's not the process. And what Prabhupada gave us is just like all the esoteric pastimes are there. You were just saying about Krishna book reading. We have our Chaitanya Charitamrita reading, Nectar of Devotion. So yeah, so we just serve Prabhupada as it is, in a very simple, grounded way, and then we move towards Krishna awarding us his personal association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Appreciate it. As you were speaking, I was thinking, in a sense, Srila Prabhupada said, Krishna dictated my books. He said, like, they are my ecstasy, and Krishna dictating the book. So in a sense, we are in a situation of Maitreya.
Yeah.
Like Krishna speaking to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada is telling us what Krishna told him. And we are kind of witnessing that relationship and that dialogue between Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. And, that's, we can choose. We can choose to be in that position of Maitreya and realize, like, we have an opportunity to be there as Srila Prabhupada giving us what Krishna gave him, and gave him for us to receive. So, and Srila Prabhupada, yes, I do believe there is nothing missing, and I believe that whatever we may find or may hear from people who find that there is something missing in Prabhupada's teaching, then that's probably only a reflection of the person saying that, and their consciousness and their lack of allowing themselves to be in the process that Srila Prabhupada gave us. Even Thursday, we were reading in the Nectar of Devotion, is like the devotee is just following the rule and regulation. And he waits with faith that whatever I need to know for my service, including, serving my desire to be associating with Krishna and serving him in a certain way, is going to be awarded. Because again, our only individual independence is our desire. So if we desire to have something revealed to us, then it's going to be revealed to us if we are sincere in desiring it. But if we are desiring something to be revealed to us because of personal agenda or conditioning or anything, then we are going to criticize the pure devotee for not giving it to me. Anything else? Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Ande, Haribol.
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 Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.